Hello there, college sports fans. It's the college sports super fan, and yes, I know, been a minute. I've been gone for a little bit. I made my last video, I think about 2 months ago. I think it was the very beginning of February. So yeah, we're getting close to middle of April, so it'd be about 2.5 months ago is when I made my last video. But I am back, hoping to make some content here. Obviously, everybody's heard about this Nico Liamalieva situation, and I just couldn't not make a video about it. This seems like the perfect opportunity to get back into things. So I just wanted to address, I know it's been a minute, but I am back and hopefully staying back for a good bit of time. So Nico has decided to make a decision that ultimately I think is a bad decision, and it's either through greed or it's through bad advice. I personally lean a little bit more towards the bad advice. You got to keep in mind that Nico is only 20 years old, he's about 20 years old. Still a young guy who's getting a lot of impressions from people, whether it's his agents or his family members or whatever it is. Plus, with this crazy no guardrails NIL space that we currently find ourselves in, there's going to be young kids that are going to be taken advantage of. So I know everybody is dragging Nico through the mud, and maybe he is the one that's greedy here. We don't know the whole story. Maybe Nico is the one that's super greedy, but you also have to consider the other possibility that it could just be some bad outside influences. I also wanted to address the other thing is the reason why I didn't make this video a few days ago because everybody's been making videos about this topic. And me personally, I don't care that much about being first as much as I care about being right. And I want to be accurate for you guys. A lot of people, when they made videos coming out about this topic, they were trying to theorize, where Nico could possibly go, and it's okay, to get your theories wrong, but you have to be at least realistic. So this is a really good article right here from Saturday Down South. They broke down the fact that there was pretty much a 0% chance of Nico transferring to another SEC school. I'm not going to say any names, but I saw some other YouTubers saying, "Oh, he could go to Texas A&M." That was a popular one, or he could maybe go to Georgia. But the reality was that was never going to happen. Simply put, it was never going to happen, and that's because of a rule that was put in by the SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey that states if you're transferring to another SEC conference team, then you will be ineligible for the following season. So, if you're coming from previous SEC teams, of course, Tennessee is one. So, for Nico in this case, if he was to transfer to Texas A&M or to Georgia, he would have to sit out the entire next season, and that would just be a horrendously bad decision. It just wouldn't make any sense for either side. So, wanted to say that he was never going to go to an SEC school. I also wanted to take this moment to address some of the rumors that have gone on around this story, as the main rumor is that Josh Heupel heard this information first from Dan Lanning, of course, the Oregon Ducks head coach out on the West Coast. He's maybe heard about schools out in California that have been looking into getting Nico, and supposedly he's the one that reached out to Josh. Now, the reality is, I do just want to stress this is another thing I've seen a lot of other YouTubers and other creators say is they're just taking that story and running with it absolutely. Like, yep, that's what happened. Dan Lanning reached out to Josh Heupel. This is what caused the problem. But the reality is, at the end of the day, maybe that's what happened, but it is just a rumor. Now, Dan Lanning, he was asked about it during Oregon's spring game. This is, as you can see here, according to FanSided. He was asked about it and refused to comment on it. So some people are taking that as well. That's just further proof that this really is true. This rumor is valid. That he reached out to Josh Heupel. But the other reality is just that okay, he just wanted to focus on the team and he just wanted to focus on their game. He's not really interested in getting into all these other distractions and doesn't really care for it. So that's just the other possibility. So I want to make that clear. That's where the rumors were, but regardless whether Heupel heard it from Dan Lanning or not, of course he heard about it. They got into the conflict, and ultimately he told Nico he had to leave the team. Nico, of course, wanted to get a big boost in money. I believe it was about 4 million added on per year, plus a new Bugatti. And again, some of this stuff I just think is terrible, terrible advice. Unfortunately, Tennessee made the right decision, told him, nope, we're not going to put up with this. And here's the reality: Tennessee had to make this decision. Because let's just say, in theory, they caved to Nico's demands. They said, okay, we'll give you all this extra money. We'll give you the nice Bugatti. We'll give you whatever you want. You're the quarterback. You're the starting quarterback. Of course, you can have whatever you want. If they do this, the ramifications for Tennessee would be severe. Not only would it show serious favoritism, which could cause a rift in the locker room, but even worse yet for the school, other players will see what Nico's done and gone, I wonder if I could take advantage of this situation as well. I wonder if I could leverage my name and try to get much more money, if I could squeeze as much as possible out of Tennessee, just like Nico did, or any other school for that instance. So, in reality, this is also makes the decision making by Nico and his team so foolish. Is this is the only decision that Tennessee could make in this scenario? Again, if they bend the knee to Nico, all of a sudden you're opening up a whole lot of trouble, possibly not just for this season, but for future seasons. Future guys going, hey, wait, well, you got that, you gave that guy a fancy new car. Hey, I want a fancy new car too. I'm one of the star players also. So it's going to open up the door to get taken advantage of. Other schools have to follow this example that Tennessee has set and said, you know what? If you're not about the team, if you're just about yourself, then you can't be on the team. You have to get off the team. Ultimately, Tennessee made the right choice, and everybody is saying that for the university. Of course, there are other major ramifications that come out of this as well. Like people ask the question, okay, well, does this mean that there's really no loyalty in the game at all? Of course, as I'm making this video, as I was doing some research for it, another top tier player, this is a wide receiver from Syracuse. His name is Trevor Pena. Literally days after this viral Nico dispute, just had the exact same situation at Syracuse. He got blasted by his head coach Fran Brown, excuse me. So that's a whole separate thing as well. So yet again, another star player going to the transfer portal after leaving on a really sour note with this program over money disputes. Is Bryce Underwood the $10 million freshman quarterback at Michigan? Is he going to stay at Michigan his whole career? Is he safe? Heck, even Arch Manning could possibly be in the mix for leaving. Who knows? Because there may just truly be no loyalty. So, in terms of the college game, this sets a really bad precedent if the players continue to abuse this. And I think there will, ultimately, if they continue to abuse this, I think there will be some laws and legislation that's going to be put in place to try to limit this, or at least try to limit maybe the agent's influence over the player. Because as I'm going to state many times, I know I sound like a broken record in this video, but I do think bad influences are definitely playing a role in Nico's decision making. And of course, the other ramifications are okay, where do Nico and Tennessee go from here? So, as I was making this video, the news broke that Nico is going to go to UCLA. Now, what's funny is I already mentioned that it was not possible for him to go to an SEC school. So, my top two predictions were that he was going to go to either North Carolina or UCLA, but my number one prediction was UCLA. So, had I made this video a couple days ago, I absolutely would have gotten that prediction right, but you guys will just have to trust me. That was where I thought he was going to go. The only thing that didn't make sense to me for UCLA was that they don't have the money, right? They badly need a quarterback. They don't have Ethan Garbers anymore. Their quarterback room is very thin. That five-star recruit, Dante Moore, that they were going to have is going to be Oregon's quarterback. So their quarterback room is really thin, but they're coming off a season where they were not that bad. They went 5-7, definitely better than I thought they were going to go. I thought they were going to go 2-10, maybe 3-9, but no, they went 5-7. They actually had a three-game winning streak against Big Ten teams, then finished off with a couple of losses, and then they won against Fresno State in the season finale. So they actually didn't have that bad of a season at the very end of the year. So I was kind of impressed with Deshaun Foster and his ability to rebound this team as a head coach. And he went 5-7, had a really strong finish to the year. Again, I was actually pretty impressed with UCLA and what they did. That being said, Tennessee's talent is still way above UCLA's talent, and Nico's going to go onto this team and he's going to go up against Big Ten competition. I was looking ahead at their schedule, and there really is not a whole lot of gimmies on their schedule. They'll open up with three non conference opponents, and then the last nine games will all be Big Ten opponents. They're going to host Penn State. They go on the road to Indiana. They go on the road against the defending national champion Ohio State Buckeyes. They do not play Oregon, and they do not play Michigan. Sorry, and Michigan had an average year, but they finished really strong. They could be a lot better this upcoming season. Of course, Oregon should continue to still be really, really good. So UCLA does avoid Oregon, and then they just have a bunch of games on their schedule that could go either way. They've got Maryland, they've got Rutgers, they've got Washington, they've got USC. Washington and USC are their last two games of the season. The Huskies are the senior day home finale. USC just right across the street on the road at the end of the season. So they finish off with those two. A lot of those games are 50-50 games that could go either way, but because they went 5-7 last year and they're getting Nico in, the expectation is going to be, in my opinion, that they should go at least 6-6. Nobody's going to expect them to beat Penn State. Nobody's going to expect them to beat Ohio State, that's for sure. And nobody's going to expect them to beat Indiana either after the season the Hoosiers had. So that's three probably guaranteed losses. They've got one maybe guaranteed win against New Mexico. But there's, again, you look at the schedule in Northwestern, maybe. I mean, there's a lot of games that are actually really 50-50 games, which means UCLA is either set up for a really bad season or they could end up in a really great season. I think they'll meet somewhere in the middle and go 6-6, but that's still some expectations on Nico on a team that is just not as good as Tennessee, and he's going to have to go in and learn a completely new system, let alone travel back all the way across the country close to home, but still have to take a bunch of new classes, going to have to hope his transfer credits come over, get ready for the fall just right around the corner. So he's going to have to learn this new system very, very, very quickly. So his not really set up for success, and he's only going to be making maybe half the amount of money. Again, terrible decision for Nico all around. Hoping he learns from this. I'm hoping he gets the bad influences out of his life and still ends up in a pro career. But I'm calling this video Nico may have just ruined his career because this is going to be a lot to overcome. Learning a new system while still playing in a tough conference with a much less talented team while he's still early in his development, and he's got to go and hope that he can get all his classes transferred over and everything as well. That is a lot. That is a lot to take on. Okay, now where does Tennessee go from here? Well, unfortunately for Tennessee, this is going to hurt them badly unless they could maybe I mean, even if they got a new quarterback to come in, that's still going to be somebody who's not a returning starter, who's going to have to get used to Tennessee's offense, which goes very, very fast, very up tempo. It's not an easy offense to learn. So typically, you'd like to have somebody who's had experience in that offense. So unfortunately, Nico's decision not only maybe possibly ruined his career, but it really sets up Tennessee badly for this upcoming season. Right now on the roster, they've just got a couple of quarterbacks, Merklinger and McIntyre. Both of them are freshmen. Merklinger's a redshirt freshman. McIntyre is a true freshman. And in my opinion, from what I've heard about the orange and white spring game, which unfortunately was not televised this year, it was actually only on radio broadcast. So you'd have to read about it or see if you could find some video clips on how they looked. But generally, from what I've read, McIntyre did look a little bit better than Merklinger. But again, it's just one game. Ultimately, both of them are so young. And yes, Nico was very young, but Nico was also super highly talented and highly regarded. Regardless, it's a big loss. The other potential for Tennessee is here's what they're probably going to do. They're either going to go with Merklinger or McIntyre, maybe start the season kind of playing either of both and just seeing who can win out the starting job within the first couple of games. Probably not let the battle go on for too long. Or they'll bring in a transfer quarterback. In my opinion, there's two options that are maybe possible for Tennessee to bring in. They could either bring in redshirt freshman Jaden Davis from Michigan. Jaden Davis has said to be super talented. The Michigan players, the team, the coaches, they all rave about Davis and his potential. But they just paid Bryce Underwood $10 million. They're not paying Underwood $10 million to sit on the bench. Okay, he's not sitting on the bench, right? So they're going to put him in right away. He's a true freshman. That means that Davis, unfortunately, is just the odd man left out. And even Michigan coaches highly anticipate that Davis is going to enter the transfer portal. As I'm making this video, he has not yet. But very likely to enter the transfer portal. Once he does, he'll be the top quarterback option. Of course, now that we know that Nico is going to UCLA. So Davis would be a guy that maybe Tennessee could swing for and try to get. And then the only other option that I think would make some sense if they want to go for, okay, this kind of threw a wrench in our season. We want either McIntyre or Merklinger or the next guy that Tennessee has coming up in 2026 that looks really, really good. They got a 5-star coming up down the pipeline that could be their future as well. So let's hold off on the future for now. Just get a guy to put in as a placeholder. If they wanted to do that, they could also get senior Iowa quarterback Brendan Sullivan, who's not really a guy that's going to wow you with his numbers. His numbers are pretty terrible, but he has at least 3 years of starting experience, and Iowa's system is really bad. I think we all know Iowa's offense terrible. Is that really all on the quarterback, or is that the fact that the system is really, really bad? I'm going to go with the fact that the system that Iowa has is so bad that even a superstar quarterback is going to put up mediocre numbers in that Iowa Hawkeyes offense. But that's just my opinion. So I think if Sullivan is put on Tennessee with all his years of experience, I think he could turn out a decent season. Nothing that will completely blow anybody away, but at least decent enough where Tennessee can maybe have a 7-5, maybe 8-4 season, have a winning season in the SEC, and go to a solid bowl game. Which at this point, with this devastating news for them, I think this should probably be the realistic expectation. Although before Nico made his decision, the expectation was to go right back to the college football playoff. Now, I don't really think that could really be the expectation anymore. I think it's just going to be to just compete, have a winning season, and set yourself up well for next year. So, with all that being said, guys, look, there's probably going to be more players that are going to try to pull these kinds of stunts in the future. Heck, as I was working on this video, again, as I said, there's a Syracuse, well, now going to be formerly Syracuse wide receiver Trevor Pena, who had a really good season last year, who's getting a little bit too big for his britches as well, and is pulling the exact same stunt with Syracuse and got kicked off the team for that. So it's already happened again just a few days later. Who knows, over the next few days, this could happen more and more. This is going to be a more common occurrence, sadly, until there's something more in place to stop this. Because right now, it is a lot of chaos. There isn't really a whole lot of guardrails up. And for now, this sets a bad precedent. But the good news is Tennessee made the right decision. Other schools, fortunately, like Syracuse, also made the right decision. I think most other schools are going to focus on the team first and the school first, and then not on the individual. These players have to realize it's not, obviously, they're such a key part of everything, but you have to put the team first. You cannot put greed first, and you cannot put your own self interest first. You have to put the team first. Ultimately, at the end of the day, these coaches made the right decision. Tennessee made the right decision. It would be interesting to see how Nico's career unfolds from here and what Tennessee can salvage for this upcoming season. Thank you guys so much for watching.